the heart of Spain, three masterpieces rise, each a mirror of centuries past. From the arches of Córdoba to the stained glass of León and the towers of Zaragoza reaching towards heaven. This is not just architecture, this is history carved in stone. In this video, we will look at probably the three most distinct and amazing cathedrals in Spain. So everyone, we're in the Mosque-Cathedral of Córdoba, and the first thing that will strike you when you come here is the blend of Muslim architecture and European architecture like Baroque, Gothic or Renaissance. But there are three particularities of this cathedral that actually blew my mind. One is that this is the first monument in Spain to be declared a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. The second one is that this mosque is not actually faced to La Mecca, but it's actually faced to the south. And the third one, this is the only mosque in the world that has a cathedral in it. So come to Spain, come to Córdoba, and you'll love it. Its history begins in the 8th century, when Abd al-Rahman I decided to build an Islamic palace of worship on the site of an old Visigothic church. Over the centuries, the mosque was expanded by several caliphs, reaching its peak splendor under the rule of Abd al-Rahman III. The exterior of the Mosque of Córdoba is a masterpiece of great majesty. Its imposing main entrance, known as the Gate of Forgiveness, is one of the most outstanding examples of Islamic architecture in the West. The walls surrounding the building stand out for their robustness, while the patio of the orange trees, which surrounds the mosque, invites contemplation and calmness, serving as a transition space between the earthly and the divine. Climbing the bell tower or Al-Hajara Tower of the Mosque-Cathedral of Córdoba offers a unique and fascinating experience. Originally built as a minaret in the 14th century during the Caliphate period, the tower rises as one of the highest points in the city, offering spectacular views. The ascent through its steep staircase, once used for the muezzins' call to prayer, allows visitors to immerse themselves in the building's history, passing through different levels that maintain their original structure. At the top, visitors are rewarded with an impressive panoramic view of Córdoba, with the Guadalquivir River, the Old City, and the Sierra de Córdoba as a backdrop, a vision that connects the city's past and present. Once inside, the interior reveals one of the most impressive works of Islamic art. The space is a vast expanse of columns made from precious materials such as marble, jasper, and granite, supporting the characteristic horseshoe arches of the Umayyad style. Thousands of columns, some repurposed from Roman and Visigothic buildings, come together in a structure that seems endless. The mihrab, oriented towards Mecca, is another of the most important points in the mosque. With its dome decorated with impressive golden mosaic, stands out as the symbolic center of Muslim prayer. The intricate decoration, geometric patterns, and floral motifs showcase the magnificence of Islamic art and the devotion of artisans who made it possible. After the Reconquest in 1236, King Ferdinand III of Castile allowed the conversion of the mosque into a Christian cathedral. This transformation left its mark on the building, adding Renaissance and Baroque elements that contrast with the original Islamic austerity. The impressive cathedral, with its main altar, choir, and multiple side chapels, turned the mosque into a Christian place of worship without losing the grandeur that characterizes its Muslim past. Several chapels of the cathedral are currently undergoing restoration, and in many of them we can see frescoes that transport us to past centuries. The altar reserved for Christian Mass is located in the Chapel of the Tabernacle, a Christian chapel built inside the mosque in the 16th century. It is a magnificent example of the unique blend of Islamic and Christian architecture within the building, representing the cultural and religious diversity of the region. The altar is adorned with intricate works of art, including a beautiful canopy and impressive sculptures, and it is considered one of the most important Christian artworks in Spain. The Christian altar is a symbol and testimony to the building's rich and cultural heritage. The presbytery has a ribbed vault decorated with medallions featuring saints and apostles, as well as angels in relief carrying musical instruments and Marian praises. The dome of the transept was built in 1599 by Juan de Ochoa. The choir vault is covered by a lower barrel vault with lunettes and is also the work of Juan de Ochoa, with decoration by Francisco Gutiérrez Garrido, following designs attributed to Pablo de Céspedes. The main chapel features Baroque artworks, including an impressive altarpiece which is considered a masterpiece of the era. Gazing upon it, one soon finds out why. This altarpiece is structured in a bench, a main body formed by 3 sections through 4 columns with composite capitals, and an attic. In addition to the paintings and figures of St. Peter and St. Paul, the main figure of the high altar is the custodia or temple. This is a later work made around 1653 by Sebastián Vidal, with designs by Alonso Matias. It is divided into 2 bodies, the first with a square floor plan, the second with a circular floor plan, topped with a dome with a lantern. As a curious fact, it is thought that Matias could have been inspired by the one made by Juan de Herrera for the San Lorenzo del Escorial monastery years before. Right in front of the main altar is the choir, which enjoys the justified reputation of being one of the most beautiful and best executed in all of Spain. The construction of the choir stalls dates back to 1742, replacing the old Gothic stalls dating from 1486. The choir stalls are made up of 60 high and 46 low stalls. The lower level stalls feature medallions with reliefs of the martyrs of Córdoba, while the upper level stalls are decorated with scenes from the Old and New Testament, which demonstrates the extraordinary quality of the Sevillian master, Pedro Duque Cornejo. The center of the choir is occupied by the episcopal chair. The combination of Christian and Islamic architecture and art creates a unique and fascinating juxtaposition, which demonstrates the history of the building and the cultural diversity over the years. Today, the Mosque-Cathedral of Córdoba is a symbol of the coexistence of cultures and religions. Its beauty attracts thousands of tourists from all over the world, who come to admire not only the impressive architecture, but also the history that lies within its walls. The Cathedral of Santa Maria de Regla de León, consecrated under the dedication of the Virgin Mary, also known as the Pulcra Leonina, and begun in the 13th century, is one of the most representative jewels of Gothic art in Spain. Its imposing exterior reflects the grandeur of medieval architecture, standing out both for its elegance and its detailed ornamentation. For all these reasons, it was the first building to be declared a monument in Spain by royal order in 1844. The main facade, with its 3 portals, is one of the most admired parts. Each of the portals is decorated with fine reliefs and sculptures that depict religious scenes and biblical figures typical of Gothic style. Above the central door, called the Portal of the Judgment, is a large rose window of impressive size and beauty, whose stained glass filters the light into the cathedral's interior, filling the space with color. 2 slender towers flank the western facade. The North Tower, also known as the Bell Tower, is taller than its twin, the Clock Tower, and both rise as guardians of the cathedral, standing out in the skyline of León. Another distinctive feature of the exterior is the set of flying buttresses and supports that surround the temple. These structures, aside from being essential for the building's stability, are a clear symbol of Gothic architecture, allowing the cathedral to reach impressive heights while leaving the walls thinner to house the famous stained glass windows that flood the interior with amazing light. The southern facade features the Puerta de San Juan, another notable entrance with rich sculptures, while on the northern facade is the Puerta de la Virgen del Dado, decorated with scenes from the life of the Virgin Mary. Overall, the exterior of the Cathedral of León impresses with its verticality, its rich sculptural decoration, and the delicacy of its forms, all characteristics of classical Gothic style. The entire structure seems to ascend towards the sky, a clear reflection of medieval spirituality. The interior of the Cathedral of León is also a true masterpiece of Gothic art. It dazzles with its brightness, height, and delicacy. Upon entering, the visitor is greeted by a majestic space characterized by the verticality typical of Gothic style, which invites one to look up towards the high vaulted ceilings and feel a profound sense of spirituality. One of the most remarkable elements of its interior is the stained glass windows, considered among the most beautiful and best preserved in Europe. They cover an area nearly 1800 square meters and date back from the 13th and the 15th centuries. These stained glass windows filter natural light into a kaleidoscope of colors that floods the cathedral, creating a mystical and immersive atmosphere. The light passing through the stained glass of its 125 windows casts tones of red, blue, green and gold into the walls, floors and columns, evoking a celestial ambiance. The temple has 3 naves and a transept. The main nave is wide and tall, with ribbed vaults supporting the ceiling. The slender columns separating the naves give the sense of lightness and elevation, while the triforiums running along the temple add a touch of architectural elegance. The cathedral's chancel is formed by an ambulatory that allows passage around the main altar, connecting with the numerous side chapels. The ambulatory is spacious, allowing for the passage of many pilgrims and avoiding overcrowding. It's important to remember that the Cathedral of León is a significant stop of the pilgrimage of the route of the Camino de Santiago. It has 9 hexagonal chapels arranged around the ambulatory and enclosed by iron grills. Each of these chapels is presided over by double window with stained glass. The Chapel of Carmen houses a tomb of Bishop Rodrigo Alvarez and has a small altar. The Chapel of Christ combines Baroque styles with the austerity of Renaissance. Right in front is the Puerta del Cardo, a 15th century work with merging arches, the part of the late Gothic period. The Chapel of the Consolation preserves 16th century mural paintings. The Chapel of the White Virgin is considered one of the pinnacle works of the era, thanks to its Baroque altarpiece of great artistic value. In front of this chapel and right behind the main altar lies the tomb of Ordoño II. The Chapel of the Conception, it is presided over by a Gothic Virgin from the 14th century and contains Hispano-Flemish panels inside the tomb of Saint Albito. The small altar of the Chapel of the Nativity dates back to the 15th century. The Chapel of Saint Teresa holds a sculpture from the school of the renowned sculptor Gregorio Fernández. And before focusing on the main altar, we should also notice the side chapel, the Chapel of Santiago, where one can appreciate a Baroque altarpiece, sculptures of great artistic value, and other architectural details that enrich the interior of the temple. It was the former library and is now dedicated to the Virgen del Camino, patroness of León. The main altar is sober yet imposing, crowned by a Renaissance-style altarpiece that contrasts with the Gothic delicacy of the rest of the temple. Behind the altar, the main apse is illuminated by large stained glass windows that tell biblical stories, intensifying the brightness of the presbytery. Another gem of the interior is the choir. Located in the center of the nave, its wooden stalls in the flamboyant Gothic style depict scenes from the Bible and allegorical figures, showcasing great detail and mastery of the sculptural work. Although it breaks the spatial unity of the temple, the retrochoir is a brilliant work of Spanish Renaissance. Construction began in 1577, and in its decorative evolution one can discern the Burgundian influence of Juan de Juni. The retrochoir is conceived entirely as a monumental triumphal arch. The reliefs depict scenes of the Nativity of the Virgin, the Annunciation, the birth of Christ, and the adoration of the Magi. Overall, the interior of the Cathedral of León combines the magnificent Gothic architecture with the spirituality that emanates from its open and luminous space. It is a place where light, art, and devotion intertwine. The Cathedral of León was originally designed without a cloister, but one was eventually built between the 13th and the 14th centuries. It has a square layout measuring 30 meters per side, with 6 intercolumniations on each side and a total of 24 pillars, following the proportions established in the Cistercian cloisters. Surrounding it are various rooms, including the current Cathedral Museum. The museum, located in the cloister area, houses impressive works of religious and pictorial art of incalculable value. Among these is the Gothic sculpture of Ordoño II and the Mozarabic Antiphonary Codex from the 11th century. A must-see. It constitutes a unique collection in its genre, housing pieces from every stage of art history, from prehistory to the 20th century, all distributed across 17 rooms. The museum has access through a beautiful walnut door made before the 16th century. In its tympanum, the scenes of the Annunciation, fully Flemish, is depicted above a space with Gothic arches. In the first room, we are shown the plateresque staircase by Juan de Badajoz el Mozo, which facilitated access to the chapter house. There are several works on display, and all of them are worthy of appreciation. The Basilica of Our Lady of the Pilar, located in the heart of the city of Zaragoza, is one of the most important architectural and spiritual treasures of Spain and of all Christianity. Its greatness lies not only in its monumental size, but also in its profound religious and historical symbolism. It stands majestically on the banks of the Ebro River, with its impressive towers and domes that seem to embrace the Aragonese sky, becoming an unmistakable landmark of the city. The history of the Basilica del Pilar is surrounded by legends and faith, being considered the first temple dedicated to the Virgin Mary in the history of Christianity. According to tradition, the Virgin appeared to the Apostle James the Greater in the year 40 AD while he was preaching in Hispania. It is said that the Virgin Mary, standing on a pillar of jasper, asked James to build a church in her honor, which led to the construction of a primitive chapel. This apparition is known as the miracle of Our Lady of the Pilar, and since then, the pillar on which the Virgin appeared has become one of the greatest symbols of devotion and pilgrimage. The exterior of the basilica is an impressive display of monumental architecture, reflecting the magnificence of this iconic large-scale temple. The predominant style of the basilica is Baroque. Its imposing main facade, which faces the Plaza del Pilar, is adorned with columns and arches that create a scene of verticality and grandeur. The facade combines classical elements with decorative details characteristic of the Baroque, such as cornices and pediments. One of the most distinctive elements of the exterior are the 4 immense towers that rise at the corners of the building, 2 on each side of the central nave. These towers, crowned by spires with geometric shapes, are a characteristic symbol of the basilica and can be seen from various points in the city, dominating the Zaragoza skyline. The towers were added in the 18th and 20th century, completing the current image of the building. The architectural complex is topped by a total of 11 domes, with the most notable being the central one, which stands out for its size. These domes are covered with brightly colored tiles, giving the basilica a unique and vibrant character. Before entering this magnificent temple, we cannot miss the chance to enjoy one of the most attractive aspects of a cultural visit to the basilica, enjoying the panoramic views of the entire city. This is done while ascending to one of the towers. The ascent is made via the panoramic elevator located in the San Francisco de Borja Tower. After a 62-meter ascent in just 20 seconds, the visitor will encounter 2 flights of stairs before reaching the upper lookout. The large Ebro River and the Sea of Domes lie at the visitor's feet. A 360-degree view of Zaragoza from above, providing an awe-inspiring experience within one of the most important Marian sanctuaries in the Catholic world. The interior of the basilica is equally impressive, with majestic altars and richly decorated chapels. The main altar is dedicated to the Assumption of the Virgin, and the holy chapel that houses the sacred Pilar receives the veneration of thousands of pilgrims who come each year to pay homage. La Virgen de Pilar is small but full of meaning. For this reason, both for the chapter and for the devotees, the Basilica del Pilar needed to resemble the already existent Cathedral of El Salvador, known as La Seo. However, they enhanced the interior aesthetics following the model of St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican, by introducing monumentality, robustness, specific ornamentations, and absolute modernity. By the way, if you haven't already seen it, I'm leaving you in the description the link to the video of La Seo. That way you'll understand why Zaragoza is the only city in the world that has 2 cathedrals. As ornamentation goes, the famous painter Francisco de Goya painted some of the frescoes on the exterior vaults, such as those seen in the central dome. His work, The Adoration of the Name of God, is one of the most emblematic examples of his artistic contribution in the basilica. The main altarpiece is an artistic and sculptural masterpiece, featuring a composition with fully Renaissance figurative scenes, but also incorporating Gothic elements. It stands in the central part of the temple and was sculpted by Damian Forment in the 16th century in polychrome alabaster and dedicated to the Assumption of the Virgin. Its construction coincided with the completion of the works of the old temple and was made possible thanks to the financial contribution of Ferdinand II of Aragon and his wife, Doña Germana de Foyer. The entire altarpiece is framed by a dust cover carved in wood, the work of Miguel de Arbuez, where the angels stand out on both sides, holding the chapter's shield of the Pilar as well as on the top of the altarpiece. In the altarpiece, you'll find the dome of the central nave under the paintings that depict the scenes of the coronation of the Virgin Mary over all the saints. Its height is 80 meters. The grand choir of the basilica is located at the foot of the central nave, directly in front of the main altarpiece. It comes from the old Gothic church, and it is in Plateresque style, carved in oak from Flanders in the 1550s. Each seat is a true filigree of exquisite carving and perfect preservation. The work is enclosed by a large grille almost 10 meters in height and elevated in front. Along the walls surrounding the cathedral, there are 10 chapels. The tour begins with a visit to the chapel of St. John the Baptist, which is next to the main entrance of the basilica from the Plaza del Pilar. Adjacent to it is the chapel of St. James the Greater, or the Communion Chapel. The chapel, whose entrance is located directly below the Regina Martyrium dome and painted by Goya, is the chapel of Saint Joachim. The chapel of Saint Lawrence has a simple neoclassical altar, and the chapel of Saint Peter of Arbues has a wooden altar imitating marble. The altar of the chapel of Saint Augustine is a magnificent example of the late Baroque. The chapel of the Rosary has a simple wooden altarpiece in the Herrerian style. The chapels of Saint Braulio, Saint Antonio of Padua, with its striking black marble and toasted jaspers. The chapel of Saint Joseph and the chapel of Saint Anne will have a special charm, each with characteristic details reflecting the grandeur of the era. But the heart of the temple is without a doubt the Holy Chapel of Our Lady of the Pilar. This masterpiece is truly a small temple within another larger temple, namely the Basilica. Its entire architecture was the work of Ventura Rodriguez, who was also the designer of the chapel of the Royal Palace of Madrid. The chapel is a harmonious ensemble of columns, medallions, and decorative panels, an excellent example of Spanish Baroque. Its floor plan is oval and all its dimensions are symmetrical. This wonderful space features marble, stucco reliefs, and sculptures, along with glittered bronzes. The most significant feature is the image of the Virgin, placed on a column of jasper covered in bronze and silver. The image of the Virgen del Pilar that the faithful see in the Holy Chapel is crowned with an imperial crown and in the center with a halo of diamonds. The paintings on a dome above were created by the Madrid-born Antonio González Velázquez in the 1760s, representing an extraordinary novelty and serving as a true manifesto of Rococo painting in Spain. We also cannot forget the area known as the Humilladero, where visitors can kiss the Pilar that the Virgin gave to the Apostle James. It is located right behind the altar of the Holy Chapel. If you come to visit the Basilica, remember to get La Medida, a colorful blessed ribbon that you can place in your car, wallet, or wherever you want. It is very inexpensive and can be acquired in a room to the right just before the main entrance. La Basilica del Pilar is a pilgrimage center for people from Aragon, Spain, and also around the world. Millions of people visit every year to see the Virgin, to pray and celebrate the sacraments, to ask for grace and also to give thanks. My name is Alex Moraras. I hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, share, and definitely subscribe to find out more amazing places to visit before you come to Spain.